Today I want to talk about how to grow the African American middle class and to provide a new deal for Black America. That deal is grounded in three promises: safe communities, great education, and high-paying jobs.
Donald Trump outlined a plan for urban renewal he calls a new deal for Black America. Mr. Trump and many politicians have been making promises for years to improve education in the Black community. But somehow after they get elected, they forget about us until the next election. Joining me now is Dr. Duke Pesta, Academic Director at the FreedomProject Academy. Welcome to the program.
Hey, thank you very much for having me, Lawrence.
So what is this new deal? You know, a lot of these politicians, Hillary Clinton included, she actually has a plan. I don't think it's going to work, but they have these plans, and then they get in office and we don't see the plan.
Well, my big concern, I don't like the fact that Donald Trump is using words like New Deal. I mean, what's this going to be next? The war on poverty, education? Right. I'm a little alarmed, right, that a so-called Republican candidate chooses that kind of language. The reality is it's big progressive Democrats who've been in charge of education at the national level and certainly at the state level. So it's a double whammy. Those are the schools that are most in danger. So for me, I admire anybody who's got a plan, but Donald Trump needs to be much more articulate about how that plan be implemented.
He talked about Common Core before. First he was for Common Core, then he was against it, and I think now he's back for Common Core. We know that destroys communities everywhere, not just Black communities, not just urban communities, but it's just not a good system.
That's right. As a matter of fact, just this morning, Donald Trump announced today that he was going to get rid of Common Core now. And you're exactly right. The common in Common Core stands for lower overall standards, not allowing kids to become what they can be in the name of equalizing education. So we know that if you're going to get 60 million American school kids to exactly the same place, that's going to be a lower place. And you're exactly right, Lawrence. It's bad for African American kids. It's bad for all kids. What I hope is that Donald Trump gets advisors who understand education. What makes me a little bit nervous is with so many of his other plans, they sound great on paper, but I would like to see a little bit more detail. We know Hillary's plan won't work. I'd like to get the specifics of how Donald Trump is going to help education.
What about school choice? You know, a lot of politicians talk about school choice. I know personally how school choice can impact your education. Part of my childhood was in North Dallas. My parents moved to Garland because they did have school choice. Now, it's not a large scale school choice, but it was a step in the right direction. And we realized the quality of education we received because we were able to pick the school in our district. Why aren't politicians getting behind this? I mean, the NAACP, who is supposed to fight for equality for all, especially the Black folks, they say they're against school choice.
Because the NAACP is more allied to the Democrat Party than they are to actually helping Black kids. We know that. School choice is a great option. As bad as the public schools are, I'm all for school choice. I have two problems, though, Lawrence. One, not every inner city family can move like yours did to be able to access choice, number one. Number two, the problem with choice is it really a choice? If the alternative schools, the charter schools, the voucher schools, if they are simply giving kids the same failed curriculum, the same Common Core methodology, they might be in a better area school-wise, but they're not getting a better education. So for me, real school choice goes beyond access and location and becomes much more about discipline in the classrooms, respect for education on the part of the kids and the teachers, and a real curriculum that works. Simply getting rid of Common Core, I would say to Donald Trump, simply getting rid of Common Core does not mean we default back to something better. It means we have to find a way to reinvent the way we do school so kids are getting a traditional education.
Don't you think school choice helps in that direction because it encourages the schools to compete? Because we know the kids are going to want and the parents are going to want to go to the best schools. So if you have all the kids rushing to only 3 schools in the district, no kids attend the other schools, then they get shut down because they don't have enough students per pupil to fund the teachers' salaries.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the more opportunities kids have to go to school, the more we can take our taxpayer money, our real estate property taxes, and we get to decide where we send our kids with that money. I think that's a big first step. Again, what's happening here in Wisconsin, where I live, is there's already pressure being put on the charter schools. The lawmakers, politicians, even Republican politicians are telling the charter schools, hey, you're taking federal money, you're taking state money. That means if we're going to continue to fund you, you have to provide the same kind of education that we provide in the public schools. And if that happens across the country, all you're doing is taking the failed public school model, curriculum-wise now, and you're putting it in more attractive alternative schools. We need, beyond the ability of parents to choose for their kids, we also need a way to fix what's going on in the classroom so that kids are actually learning stuff and not getting subjected to politics, social justice warriorism, that they're learning real skills that will have real value in the future.
You know what my problem is that the only time these people come to the parents and say, parents, what do you want? Is when they want some money for a stadium. And we see that they're paying millions and millions of dollars for this stadium. And I have nothing against people wanting to go to sporting events. I was an athlete my entire career in high school and middle school. So I realize that sports is great for kids, and it's great because you can get, for many people that were in the hood, got scholarships and made it out. So I like it, but shouldn't we be taking these type of issues to the parents and say, parents, vote on this?
You are exactly right. Take Common Core. The moms and dads of this country are the primary stakeholders of American public education. The kids, the local school boards. None of these people were consulted about the federalization of education under Common Core. As with the national health care law, we had no vote. We had no real citizen input. The decisions that they're making for us on almost every issue at the federal level, we're being cut out of them. And so this move is a very dangerous move. And you're right, and it's hypocritical, right? The two times we hear from our politicians about education is when they're up for re-election and when they want a referendum for more money. We need to start hearing about these politicians before they decide to put this garbage in our schools. And as with so many things, as you know, Lawrence, even with Common Core, the kids who are going to suffer the most are the kids who are already suffering. And that includes a lot of inner city kids. We got to fix the classroom before we can fix the sports programs, before we can even fix, moving kids around to have better access to a particular building. We've got to start by fixing the classroom. Everything else is secondary. And if we don't do that, we've already lost the game here.
Duke, I appreciate your insight, brother. Hopefully we'll bring you back when we have some more details on it. Thank you so much for joining.
I'm a big fan of your work. Thanks for having me, Lawrence.
Thanks, sir.